Hello students, we will start with Linux administration. Subject 4 will be the 315. Okay, what is Linux administration? We will see the first. What is operating system? Operating system or OS is a software program that enables the computer hardware to communicate and operate with the computer software. Without a computer operating system, a computer would be useless. Examples of the operating systems like Windows, Windows 7, Windows 10, Linux. Okay. Under Linux, you can see the different versions like Ubuntu, Debian, Red Hat. All these are comes under Linux operating system. Linux. What is Linux? Linux is generic term referring to Unix, like graphical user interface GUI based. Okay. It is computer operating systems. It is multi-user, multitasking, and multiprocessor. It has the X Windows GUI, that is graphical user interface. It coexists with other operating systems like Windows and other Mac. It runs on multiple platforms. It includes the source code. What is multi-user, multi-processing, multitasking, multi-threading operating system? We'll see first multi-user. A multi-user operating system allows for multiple users to use the same computer at the same time and or different times. What is multiprocessing? An operating system capable of supporting and utilizing more than one computer processor. Hence, it is called as multiprocessing operating system. Multitasking, an operating system that is capable of allowing multiple software processes to run at the same time. Hence, it is called as multitasking. Multi-threading operating systems that allow different parts of software program to run concurrently. So we will see the comparison between Linux and Windows operating system. There are some points which it will cover under comparison. First is Linux. Linux users have the benefit of having low resource requirements as well. Linux can be installed on a PC just having the bare minimum resources. In fact, Linux is so versatile that almost any type of computer and console can probably support it, except Mac operating system computers, which come preloaded with Mac operating system X. On the other hand side, the Windows operating system is pretty versatile and can be installed on PCs having variable amounts of resources. There are versions of Windows that can be installed on PCs having as little resources as 233 MHz processor and 64 MB RAM. Linux versus Windows. Linux keeping up to date by upgrading Linux upgrades faster than Windows. Okay, it is faster. Upgradation is faster in Linux than Windows. Compatibility, Linux is backward compatible unlike Windows. There are different advantages of Linux. You don't need to spend time and money to obtain licenses since Linux and much of its software come with the GNU General Public License. Okay. Next is Linux doesn't need to be rebooted periodically to maintain performance level. Next advantage will be the Linux provides persistent high performance on workstations and on networks. Why it is significant? Why Linux is significant? Because it is powerful. It runs on multiple hardware platforms. Then it uses like its speed and stability. Stability. No requirement for latest hardware. It's free. Okay, the Linux is free. And in Windows, we have to purchase the different versions of the Windows. License under JPL. Vendors are distributors who package the Linux operating system. What is open source software? People improve it, people adapt it, and people fix bugs. And this can happen at a speed that, compared to conventional software development, seems astonishing. Hence, it is open source software. Linux provides security as there is a limited access of users to basic files and folders. In Linux network, it provides security to users' privacy. Without disclosing the secure data, Linux acts as efficient server. Hence, it provides security. Linux is virus free. Linux is virus free in that there are essentially no viruses for Linux in the wild, although research viruses certainly do exist. Here you can see the architecture of Linux system. First, in the main center, it is hardware, then kernel, which is the heart of the system. Then the next level will come shell, and different application compiler are on the last level. This is the architecture of Linux system. Next, we will see the architecture is consist of following layers. First layer is hardware layer, that is center layer. Hardware consists of all peripheral devices like RAM, HDD, CPU, etc. Then kernel, it is the core component of operating system, Linux operating system. It interacts directly with the hardware, provides low-level services to upper layer component. What is shell? Shell is the next layer to the kernel. It is an interface to kernel, hiding complexity of kernel's functions from users. Utilities, utility programs giving users most of the functionalities of an operating system. Here is it is an interface or the graphical user interface of the Linux operating system. Linux file system basics. Linux files are stored in a single rooted hierarchical system, file system. Data files are stored in directories, that is folders, and directories may be nested as deep as needed. Sources to learn commands. There are particular commands we have to learn that. First is the primary, that is man command is there, manual pages, man, then command shows all information about the command, different commands. It gives the list of the different commands which we have to follow on Linux operating system. Then next is the help command, which shows the available options for that command. File handling commands. We have to handle different files in Linux operating system. So we will handle by different commands like mkdir is make directories command. Okay, this command is for making directory. The command is mkdir. This is for making directories. Usage is mkdir options directories. Example, we will you can see mkdir, and then you have to find type the directory like Prabhat. We have given as example as Prabhat. Then ls is this command is for list directory contain usages. First ls, then option, and you have to type the file name. Example ls, then ls1 or ls Prabhat. You have to list the directory of the content. Then next command is cd. When you have to change the directory, then this command is used. First, we have when we have to change the directory like Prabhat, we have to type like cd space Prabhat. Okay. Next command is pwd print. Okay, pwd print. Name of the current working directory, usage is pwd. Okay. Next command is vim. Vi is improve, a programmer's text editor. Okay. Vim, how to use this command? Vim option, then file. Okay, vim file1 text or file name we have to type. Cd command is when we have to change the directory. Next command is cp. Okay, when we have to copy the files or directories, then you can use this command cp. Okay, copy files or directories. cp command. Okay, this is cp command to copy the files and directories. Usage is cp options, and you have to type the source destination. Example is cp sample or text, and this is the source txt. Cp sample copy text or target directory is the destination. Okay, first we have to type the source and then destination. Then for moving, okay, to move the or remove the particular, rename the files, we have to use the command as mv and option source or direct, source and destination. Example is mv source txt and then destination target directory. Next is mv old txt and source file and then destination file. File handling commands will be continued. Next is rm for to remove the files or directories. Okay. Rm command is to rm command. This is to remove the files or directories. When you have to remove the particular file or directory, then the command is used as rm option and then file name rn space file1.txt rf some directory. Then when you have to search for the particular file or a directory, then you have to use the command as find find name find1.txt, find name and file1.txt. For history, prints recently used commands. Okay, when you type the history command, then you will get the prints of recently used commands. Okay. For next, text processing commands like cat. Next command is cat, is concatenate files and print on the standard output. How to use the cat command? Cat space and then file. Example, cat and file name will be the file1.txt, file2.txt, cat and cat file1. Then echo command is echo to display a line of text. Okay, to display a line of text, usage echo space and string. Example, echo I love India, echo. Okay, display a line of text. When you have to display a line of text, then you have to type the echo command and the text you want to display. Okay, this is the text processing commands. grep, print lines matching a pattern. Okay, pattern file example grep I apple sample.txt. This is the grep command to print the lines matching a pattern. Then wc command to print the number of new lines or words bytes in file. Usage is wc space file. Okay, these are different commands. When you will use, then you will get the idea how to use the commands. System administration commands. The next command is chmod. Command is chmod. Change the file's access permission. Okay, when you have to change the file access permission, then the command is used as chmod. Usage is chmod space. You have to type the mode and file name. Chmod 744 calculate. This is the file name. Then chon own. Okay, chown change the file owner and group. Okay, when you have to change the file owner or group, then this command is used. su command to change user's id or become super user. Then this command you have to use, change the user id or become a super user. Next command is password. Okay, next command is password. PASSWD to update a user's authentication tokens or password. Command is FPASSWD space example password. WHO. This shows who is logged on. Okay. Who, then option. Example is WHO, B or Q. Advanced commands. There are different advanced commands. How to reboot. When you have to reboot the system, then this command is used, like reboot. Okay. Reboot command is there. Reboot the system. Usage, how to use this, reboot and space. Then when you have to power off the system, the power off command you have to use the power off and space. Example, like only you have to type as power off. Next we will see the video for Linux operating system.
Welcome to the tutorials on Linux. This is first of the 18-part video series helping you become a Linux pro.
We will increase the window size.
Welcome to the tutorials on Linux. This is first of the 18-part video series helping you become a Linux pro. So let's get started. So what is an operating system? Every time you switch on your computer, you see a screen where you can perform different activities like write, browse the internet, or watch a video. What is it that makes the computer hardware work like that? How does the processor on your computer know that you are asking it to run an MP3 file? Well, it is the operating system or the kernel which does this work. A kernel is the program at the heart of any operating system that takes care of fundamental stuff like letting hardware communicate with software. So to work on your computer, you need an operating system. In fact, you're using one as you read this on your computer. Now, you may have used popular operating systems like Windows, Apple OS X, but here we will learn what Linux is and what benefits it offers over other OS choices. So what is Linux and who created it? Linux is an operating system or a kernel which germinated as an idea in the mind of young and bright Linus Torvalds when he was a computer science student. He used to work on the Unix operating system and thought that it needed improvements. However, when his suggestions were rejected by the designers of Unix, he thought of launching an OS which will be receptive to the changes, modifications suggested by its users. So Linus devised a kernel named Linux in 1991, though he would need programs like File Manager, document editors, audio-video programs to run on it. Something as you have a cone but no ice cream on the top. As time passed by, he collaborated with other programmers in places like MIT, and applications for Linux started to appear. So around 1991, a working Linux operating system with some applications was officially launched, and this was the start of one of the most loved and open source OS options available today. The earlier versions of Linux were not so user-friendly as they were in use by computer programmers, and Linus Torvalds never had it in mind to commercialize his product. This definitely curbed Linux's popularity as other commercially oriented operating system, Windows, got famous. Nonetheless, the open source aspect of the Linux operating system made it more robust. But now, Linux has got its due attention. The main advantage of Linux was that programmers were able to use the Linux kernel in order to design their own custom operating systems. This has now made Linux one of the most popular and widely used kernel, and it is the backbone of popular operating systems like Debian, Ubuntu, and Fedora. The list doesn't end here, as there are thousands of operating systems based on Linux which offer a variety of functions to the users. So what are the benefits of using Linux? Linux now enjoys popularity at its prime, and it's famous among programmers as well as regular computer users around the world. Its main benefit is that it offers a free operating system. You do not have to shell hundreds of dollars to get the operating system like Windows. Other benefits are, being open source, anyone with programming knowledge can modify it. The Linux operating systems now offer millions of programs and applications to choose from, most of them free. Once you have Linux installed, you no longer need an antivirus. Linux is a highly secure system. More so, there is a global development community constantly looking at ways to enhance its security. With each upgrade, the operating system becomes more secure and robust. Linux is the operating system of choice for server environments due to its stability and reliability. Mega companies like Amazon, Facebook, and Google use Linux for their servers. A Linux-based server could run non-stop without a reboot for years on end. So is it for you? Users who are new to Linux usually shun it by falsely considering it as a difficult and technical operating system to operate. But to state the truth, in the last few years, Linux operating systems have become a lot more user-friendly than their counterparts like Windows. So trying them is the best way to know whether Linux suits you or not. I am asked to learn Unix, then why Linux? Unix is the mother of the operating systems, which laid out the foundation to Linux. Unix is designed mainly for mainframes and used in enterprises and universities, while Linux is fast becoming a household name for computer users, developers, and server environment. You may have to pay for a Unix kernel, while in Linux it is free. But the commands used on both the operating systems are usually the same. There is not much difference between Unix and Linux. Though they might seem different, at core they are essentially the same, since Linux is a clone of Unix. So learning one is same as learning another. This was a short introduction to Linux. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next tutorial. Welcome to the video tutorial on selecting a Linux distribution and types of installation. Now that we know what Linux is, it is time we learn how we should install it on the computer and choose which distribution we should use. Let us start by understanding what a Linux distribution is. Well, now as you know that Linux is an open source free-to-use kernel, it is used by programmers, organizations, profit and non-profit companies around the world in order to create operating systems to suit their individual requirements. These versions, types, kinds of Linux operating systems are called distributions or distros. So how many distributions are out there? There are hundreds of Linux operating systems or distributions available these days. Many of them are designed with a specific purpose in mind. For example, to run a web server or to run network switches like routers or modems. The latest example of one of the most popular smartphone-based Linux distribution is Android. So let us learn about some popular Linux distros. Starting with Arch Linux, this Linux distro is popular amongst developers. It is an independently developed system. It is designed for users who go for a do-it-yourself approach. The next is the CentOS. It is one of the most used Linux distribution for enterprises and web servers. It is a free enterprise class operating system and is based heavily on Red Hat Enterprise distro. The next is Gentoo. It is a source-based distribution, which means you need to configure the code on your system before you can install it. It is not for Linux beginners, but it sure is fun for experienced users. Linux Mint. It is one of the most popular desktop distributions available out there. It launched in 2006 and is now considered to be the fourth most used operating system in the computing world. Next is Ubuntu. This is the third most popular desktop operating system after Microsoft Windows and Apple Mac OS. It is based on Debian Linux distribution and it is known for its desktop environment. So which one is the best Linux distribution? Well, each Linux distribution is built for a specific purpose to meet the demands of its target users. Most of the distributions are available for free at their respective websites. You might want to try them one by one till you get to know which distribution you like the most. Each one of them offers its unique design, applications, and security. We will be using Ubuntu for our learning purpose as it's easy for a beginner to understand. Now let us look at the various methods we can use to install Linux.
Summary. Linux and networking go hand in hand. The Linux kernel has support for all common and most uncommon network protocols. The standard Unix networking tools are provided in each distribution. Next to those, most distributions offer tools for easy network installation and management. Linux is well known as a stable platform for running various internet services. The amount of internet software is endless. Like Unix, Linux can be just as well used and administered from a remote location using one of several solutions for remote execution of programs. We briefly touched the subject of security. Linux is an ideal firewall system, light and cheap, but can be used in several other network functions such as routers and proxy servers. Increasing network security is mainly done by applying frequent updates and common sense. Thank you. We will end this meeting. In next lecture, we will see the further Linux commands. Thank you.